Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
This episode is about the Patreon pick for the month and pick 2 different Wes Anderson films that neither of us have seen before.
Aye, yep.
Yeah, so it was against Royal Tenenbaums and The Life Aquatic.
I'm somewhat grateful, I think, that with the Patreons on this one. Just from the covers of looking at it.
Oh, really?
I think this one looked more intriguing.
How so?
Well, I think the other one had...
Oh, like a submarine?
Yeah, and I don't know, just thinking like spaceship as well. It's like, oh, they're just trapped in this one place. And also it had Owen Wilson in it. But I know this one does as well.
Yeah, going by the cast list, yeah. It's got Ben Stiller as well, and
which I did think. I think it's like I'm looking, thinking.
Please don't be too like Ben Stillery.
Yeah. So, but then it's got Gwyneth Paltrow in it as well. So I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, she's like a young Gwyneth Paltrow, but
it's 2001 film, so
yeah. I'm hoping it's a bit better, but when I looked at them, I'm both thinking, not sure if I'm going to absolutely love them, but out of the pick, I think this looks more intriguing.
Yeah, well, this seems, obviously, it won the vote anyway, but I think out of the two, people seem to rate this one quite highly in terms of Wes Anderson's like filmography and stuff, as being like a top favourite within that, so obviously I don't know myself, I don't know great deal about it other than the cover, and it's like, oh, it looks like a sort of a family of misfits of some kind, I think, really. But
yeah, and I think, to be fair, I'm hoping there's going to be a bit of character development. I think with the other one, I think it was just more, I don't know, there's only like 4 people on the front cover and just in a submarine. And I don't know where it's going to go, so I think...
Well, you could say that about anything, couldn't you?
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Whereas I don't really know where this is going to go, but we'll soon find out, won't
we? We will.
And see.
I'm just hoping I'm not going to hate it, because normally Wes Anderson films, I've got quite a bit of...
Yeah, we'll say like...
character building and detail and such, so...
Yeah, I mean, you really liked Grand Budapest Hotel, so
yeah.
It's high marks from you, and re-watched Fantastic Mr. Fox over the weekend, and I really rate that.
You do, yeah. It is I rate it for the stop frame animation and the colour tones and hues.
Autumnal, yeah. Right.
But still think Grand Budapest is better than Fantastic Mr. Fox, but that's another discussion for later.
Alright, I'll read out the synopsis that Google provides this time. 3 siblings, gifted in their own way, have experienced success but are distant from each other. Their family has to reunite when their estranged father announces he is dying.
Blimey. A bit intense, isn't it? I think it's strange because I'm quite close to my siblings, but I guess my parents aren't as much, which seems weird to me. But this, you just move on with your life, and sadly, if your parents are not around or you're not seeing them as much, you can just kind of drift apart.
Yeah,
and I think that's quite sad, really.
When you're grown up, yeah. So
a lot of things, life just takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Right, so we're back very shortly with our thoughts on the Royal Tenenbaums.
Hey! What? Where have you been?
Oh, we just stepped out to get some air.
What's that?
That's not... What is that? Oh, no, that's dog's blood.
Come here.
What?
You stay away from my children. Do you understand?
My God, I haven't been in here for years.
Hey! Are you listening to me?
Yes, I am!
And we're back. Haven't seen the film. What did we think? initial first thoughts?
A lot of information, but not in a good way.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I enjoyed it, but not like the Grand Budapest, where I felt like I was on an adventure and on a journey. I think there was a lot of character building because there is several different characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got to a point where I forgot certain people's names.
Yeah. Well, I think they were quite simplistic in the naming, and each of them got their own enough screen time.
Yeah, I think I just got, what's his name, the guy with the smashed nose? Owen Wilson. And his brother, like them two, when they grew up.
Well,
mixed up a bit, because obviously they are related in real life.
In real life, yeah. Luke Wilson and Owen Wilson, yeah.
The one that shone for me the most was actually Gwyneth Paltrow's character.
I thought you were going to say Ben Stiller then.
No.
Yeah.
She didn't do a lot, but you knew most about her. But from other people, it felt she was like this.
Well, she wasn't even technically part of the family. She was adopted, which they kind of pointed out that, like, in
several
that kind
times.
of like, in that, oh, this is my adopted.
Oh my God, how shitty would you feel? Like every 2 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that she has that kind of like, almost like moody teenager vibe to her, even as an adult, kind of like throughout.
But she seems to be, her lines are not very long. She's not got much dialogue in the actual script, probably itself, but yet somehow without her, I don't think there's that much of a story. And I know it sounds daft because she is like the bit of the glue where everyone's infatuated by her.
I wouldn't say everybody, but
majority.
Two of the characters.
And her husband. And I think like she's a little bit of the glue to say she's not actually part of the family.
Well, I think that's the theme of it is obviously about a sort of a dysfunctional family and kind of coping with all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was like one shot in particular I pointed out to you is that, oh, look how, like, when all the family's like addressing the dad, who's when they're older, and it's like, right, he's learned, like, say, from the synopsis bit I've read out where he's like, he's dying. And there's the shot where they're all kind of like facing the dad, and she's like in the bottom right hand corner of the frame, and she's like really like far away. She's kind of like got her arms crossed and things. I thought she's so far out of the picture with everything. But I
think with her dad she is, yeah. But she's quite close with her mum, even though it says like adopted mum. I think she's pretty much that relationship of taking her in and looking after her. Mm-hmm. But the dad is a good time guy, isn't he? When life's good and everything like that, he's brilliant. When life gets hard and a bit shitty, he just flees away from it. He doesn't really know how to deal with that. He's just a good time guy, likes the luxuries and everything. Mm-hmm. And hasn't really looked after the children at all.
No, it's all the mother doing the upbringing. That's why they have these sort of these gifted talents, and obviously she's raised them off her own back, and so taking the time to do it, which I think speak as a common thing that occurs with most families. Not saying that's always the case, but like if the father leaves or whatever, and then it's also the mother to pick up the pieces and look after raise the kids as best she can. Majority
of the time it is. Don't get me wrong, I think probably a little bit more nowadays the dad can be a full-time carer, can the dad. Yeah. But I think it does make you have a stronger relationship with one of the parents. Mm-hmm. We've been saying this, haven't we? Because obviously my mum and dad separated, and mum kind of was the main carer for me and my sister. Yeah. And that relationship is so, like, it's a friendship, it's a bond, it's like completely different to, for example, having two parents that have been together, and it's that different kind of relationship that you get. I'm not saying it's the right way of having it, but you do become closer because you've only got one dependent instead of two. Mm-hmm. So where do we start?
Well, I guess we start, and we've sort of gone into a little bit, but obviously like the fact of how the characters, how obviously it was talked about Gwyneth Paltrow was the character of Margot in this, and how she's kind of how she is, but like how Ben Stiller is, for example, like how
so anal, isn't he? Bless him, he's got a background story, which is great, I guess.
Well, not for him. But...
No, but I mean actually just having a story and having something to act with. He's not actually that irritating, which is
but I can definitely see he's trying to be as he is in some of his comedy roles, but very much toned down.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's been in any other Wes Anderson films. after the fact. So
Oh, so you didn't do a good enough job. Is that clear?
yeah, whereas
what we're
like
saying?
Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson and obviously Bill Murray's in quite a lot of the films that, going forward. But
I don't know what his attraction is with Owen Wilson, but to be fair, he didn't do that much of a bad
no,
performance.
I don't think he's not. You might think of him in pigeonholed into these kind of comedy things, but in stuff like this and the thing you can do is, I think it's the way Wes Anderson does the dialogue and stuff. And say like with Gwyneth Paltrow in this is that kind of like it's like a kind of, I don't know, like droll, dry sense of delivering lines, but it's like almost like deep kind of in a sort of way, roundabout way. And the same with everybody else when you think about it, but it's just how that's the style of directors'
choice, isn't it? Yeah.
But I do think the film was actually also co-written by Owen Wilson as well. So
yeah, maybe I should give him a bit more credit.
But back to Ben Stiller, and he's got 2 kids, but he's a widow basically.
Yeah, he is, and his kids are his heart and soul, and he's a good dad. He's lost her on a plane, and now he's completely anal, and any safety to his children, he is like trying to prepare them for, and pretty much wrapping them up in cotton wool.
Yeah, like and doing like a fire alarm thing. Oh, wake up, wake up.
Yeah. And no one can be ever prepared for any circumstances that are going to hit them. It's just sadly is the case. But obviously, because it's been so traumatic to him, this is how he's trying to cope, I guess. He moves back with his mum. Everyone, when they're down and the sticks are, the chips are hard, they go back to your mum, don't you? Yeah. And bless her, she just takes him in with open arms. She just didn't even blink an eyelid. She's a very good mum. She doesn't meddle. She advises from afar, but doesn't kind of go like the dad, you're raising them wrong. You should be doing it this way. Yeah. Or taking the children to horse racing game or shooting guns or something ridiculous like that, and going the complete extreme to what Chaz is trying to raise them to do. But yeah. He seems all right though, as a role. It's not too much airtime to be great in, but he seems to be delivering his lines okay and acting. Yeah,
I think it's more when he's obviously like going like confronting the dad. He's obviously pissed off with him a little bit. It's sort of to be expected. I think it's because obviously kind of just left and now you kind of worm yourself back into our lives, and he's the dad's. It was almost like within the space of like 2 minutes. Obviously, like the dad's like, "Oh, I'm dying." I'm thinking, is this going to be a lie? And then it's like, no, he's not actually dying. And then
I feel like this is always a bit.
Can he just be trusted? Is it actually? And then he changes his mind again. It's like
it's a bit of resentment, I think, on the dad's side because he's had such a good life and he's enjoyed the fun times. But then it's a case of I've missed out on my children, and it's only when you get older, I think the dads actually realise that they've missed out.
Yeah,
and this is the issue when they want to make up for
lost time,
and the children are old enough to make their own decisions and go, well, you weren't there when I needed you. Why should I let you back in? And I think that's what he's kind of getting at with the children now and wanting to have them close by faking being ill.
Yeah, with that. And it's like, it's all like time's ticking, and it's obviously that's spurring on them all coming together collectively back to the house. Even Richie, who's on this like boat voyage out at sea and everything, and it brings him back home as well.
So I think with him, he's actually birth father is obviously that he's not adopted. So you've got Chaz and Richie who are actually like both Ethel. Is it Ethel?
Ethelyn. Yeah.
And the dad's
who is called Royal, which I kind of thought, right, okay, I didn't know that was the name, but I
actually didn't twig what his name was the entire time. I literally was in my notes, just wrote Dad every 2 minutes.
Right.
They're birthrighted to them.
Yeah.
However, Margot isn't, and you kind of have this little bit of a love triangle.
Oh, with Eli, who's Owen Wilson's
and the fact
like the best friend of Richie.
Has a husband as well, which is Bill Murray, which is, to be fair, he is like double her age, isn't he? He's like going out with her dad pretty much. Yeah. So I don't know how that became about. And she's always really kind of been close to Richie.
Yeah.
And there's been romance there, but it's like, oh no, it's taboo. You're not allowed, your brother and sister, but technically.
Not by blood or anything like that. So it's what is people say things, but what's what's normal these days or something Dad says, and it's like, yes, no, because it's, I don't know, it's still it feels a bit wrong and weird, but...
It does, but technically...
It's not.
It's not, they've just been raised together.
Yeah.
It technically nothing actually wrong by it.
But at the same time, it's kind of... It's not like they've been closely living together, and as they've grown older, it seems like they have obviously drifted apart, and it's... So it's not like they've been spending everything, as they're developing and growing, they've been far further afield from each other, so...
There's a line that Margot says, though, to her husband, like, oh, you're leaving me. And he's like, you don't love me anymore. I love you, kind of. Being like, oh. Like, if I said to you, I love you, kind of, how would that now make you feel?
Not particularly great. It's obviously the tone that she gives it. Again, it's that Wes Anderson, like, comedic tone of things that it's going for. So it works, and it's like you chuckled a few times, like in just the way things were said throughout the film. So it kind of works, and I can see why it appeals to a lot of people. And obviously, like in terms of the cutaways and stuff, like explaining, like Chaz does this, and he's invented this, and he's these mice, and kind of like that kind of framing that he does, like in obviously from Grand Budapest and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's like perfectly in a line to fit the frame, yet side by side it's equal, like a mirrored image type of thing, and that kind of stuff. But I did notice that, because I say in his films, he doesn't tend to. It's kind of like when it's like the camera pans, does it in that way. It's not doesn't really go skew for like handheld. But there was a couple of instances in this film I noticed where that was the case. Like it was, like when the Royal was with the grandkids, and he was kind of like running down the street and everything, and another like scuffle with Chaz and Eli later on in the film. It's kind of like that shaky handheld kind of style that it was kind of felt loose. It was a bit different from what I've seen from other films that we've seen from Wes Anderson. So it's kind of interesting.
It works though. It does. Like the colours and everything within this is quite. You've got some vibrant but quite neutralised colours as well, like the tones and everything like that he's going for.
Yeah.
I feel like the family in itself are quite well-to-do and quite rich and wealthy. Like, one's a professional tennis player.
Yeah.
The other was really good with money and bought a house and did all this and raised, like, rats and, like you said, scientists. He was fantastic. Margot, I don't really know.
She's like a sort of like playwright or something. She wanted to do plays and stuff. Yeah.
And then obviously you've got like the leech of the friend that is across the road who doesn't have as much.
Yeah.
And kind of is best friends with Richie and wants to kind of live there and is there every waking moment.
Yeah.
Which you always do get one of those friends, don't you, that just never leaves the house. But I don't know, it's enjoyable. It is. The character building is definitely there. Am I attached and love?
Not even when... Obviously Richie, because that did throw me for a loop a little bit. Like there was when later on in the film, when I think it was when Richie realised, and also Bill Murray's character realised, like, oh, Margot had been smoking since she was 12, and had all these other, like been in various different relationships throughout her life, and she'd been already married, didn't last very long, and then just like oh God, can't deal with this, and then he goes like he shaves his head, shaves his beard, and then takes a razor blade and slits his wrist, and it's like, oh God, it's quite dark.
It is, yeah.
I think that kind of took me by surprise a little bit. So there was kind of like an emotional thing, and then I'm thinking, oh God, is he like? I thought he's gone, he's out of the picture completely, but then he does survive. So I was like, oh, okay, phew. Yeah.
I don't think I was like on that much of an emotional roller coaster with it. I think he was more, for me, it was like he thought Margot was in love with his best friend and thought he couldn't have her, and I think that's what I
drove him to that. But...
took it from.
Yeah.
And I think
it was.
That's how he lost his tennis glory, because he funked out when she'd got married and she was sat there with her husband in the stadium.
Back, so it's like, oh, my life isn't worth living kind of thing. But
yeah, and it is dark. It is, because you see all the blood coming down and him obviously laying there.
Yeah.
At the same time, I didn't think he was going to die. I know that sounds daft. I don't know. I think it's just the tone of the film makes it feel like it wouldn't go that far.
I mean, there is death. Obviously, jumping to the end where obviously the dad does actually die.
Yeah.
And all that. But Yeah, with Chaz in his black tracksuit instead of his red one and stuff like that. But
well, I feel like it's the guy that cries wolf, and then it actually happens.
Yeah, and he witnessed him having a heart attack or something, so he was the only one who witnessed that and everything, so it's kind of, a sad thing, and because he was like, scoffing before, like, you got cancer, like, yeah, right, kind of thing, and then he was the one who to be there and witness his eventual fatality.
I feel like it was a bit of a time past, though, hadn't it? When that happened.
Yeah. But I think collectively, it kind of like, it's sort of like a tragedy of sorts, or like that is what brings family together, and it's like kind of looking back on the past with things and trying to obviously don't dwell on it too much and just try and move forward with things.
I think it's also telling you to be present and be there at that moment in time, and I think that's what the dad in this didn't do, because like if he had been there for his children and had been a father figure, he would have had them more present in his life when he was older, when he wanted them. And I think that's one of the things where you can't just assume you can pick off where you've left off.
Yeah, because definitely tastes change, you know that, don't you, with things that you like and that stuff.
And I think it's just like, well, you change, you grow, you develop, and you become different people. And if they're not kind of being with you while you have grown and changed, then you could be completely a stranger. The dad does also thank Evelyn for raising his kids, and, she actually says, why weren't you there? And she wanted him to be a part of it. So it was only him stopping himself, and he's only got himself to blame because he wanted all the grandeur and opulence, and actually, at the end of it, sadly, you can't take any of that with you.
Yeah, because he kind of loses it anyway, so it's like, oh, Christ, what do I do now? Right, I was going to crawl back into the lives of my family.
Yeah. But who don't want to then help him because they weren't there. He wasn't there when they needed him.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's family at the end of the day, and you will try and do. Right?
You can't choose your family, sadly, can you? Also, I think the dad's really jealous. So obviously, the mum, Evelyn, is not moved. She's not moved on. She's kind of just put herself into the kids and developing them, and then eventually she finds somebody who seems like a really good suitor for her.
Yeah,
and
Henry.
And I think this is when the dad gets really jealous and wants to be
trying to scupper that relationship.
Yeah, which is just like, it's so unfair. How many relationships have you had? And
he even says that, and
she hasn't even tried to ruin them for you. Yeah. And this one actually, I think it hurts because he can see this guy's actually decent, and his worth for her.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of hard for him to actually admit and see.
But it's going to work out in the end, because he eventually comes to terms with it all, really. And so they do end up getting married.
Divorced as well. And
divorced,
and
before that, obviously, so that they can get married,
And then the dog gets run over, doesn't it? There's a little bit of extreme humour there with the car coming in.
Yeah, in a sense, but not played up too ridiculous. In a sense, like, I don't know, like some other iteration of that scene would play out in, like, say, if Ben Stiller directed it, it would be way OTT.
Does he direct films?
Yeah, I think he has, yeah.
Oh, no. I thought it was just an actor.
He's done at least one, anyway.
Also, for Margot, she loses her finger.
Yeah, and there's a funny flashback of that happening as well. But
yeah. And obviously, it's because she's adopted, she wanted to go see her original kind of birth parents. And going from quite opulence to...
Yeah,
is it Kentucky or something like that?
Indiana, I think. Indiana. Yeah.
And she gets her finger axed off by a dad.
Is that? I don't actually know obviously much of the geography for that, but I think, is that more the sort of Rednecks, down south Texas. In sort of way? Yeah. So I think it's, I don't know, casting dispersions, but obviously I think it's like, that's why she loses the finger. But
they kind of do that well, because obviously she's got a finger still, but they've just put this like wooden thing over it to look like she's lost a finger.
So they're clever, and again, there's a sort of a quirky aspect to the character, so that works. And I say, just for how the mannerisms and stuff, as I say, is very, as I say, Wes Anderson-y.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. He's in those various things. I don't know if you've seen them on reels and stuff where it's like, oh, are you pretending to be in a Wes Anderson film or something? And it's just like, again, like those perfect shots where it's standing in a door frame when they're like perfectly still and the colours are all that kind of
bright
and stuff.
Yeah.
And just like shots cut to and then doing something else in that like particular, I think this really was kind of like the making of his particular finding his feet, because this was his third film. I don't remember. I know I've seen, I think Rushmore. I've seen that was his second film. That was before this one. I don't think I've seen Bottle Rocket, but that was so I can't really remember if those kind of his styling, somehow he, from this point onwards did the framing and stuff. Was that in those films? I can't really recall, but or certainly not. I don't think the colour palettes that he kind of focused on and highlighting in that sense was present in this. So,
like the Grand Budapest one is so vibrant and colourful, and I think this has kind of got a bit of a duller palette. Yeah,
because it's sort of set in like a whatever city we're in, but in kind of like, it's not in this wild, fantastic locations. The vast thing that Grand Budapest offers, really. So,
but I think Grand Budapest is higher for me personally. And I think when you say Wes Anderson film, I was going in with a bit of high expectations. I think I know we did start another one, didn't we? But we didn't finish it.
No, we did finish it. If you're thinking of French Dispatch.
Did we?
Yeah. I think he might have zoned out on that one though.
I don't remember that one.
I didn't really gel with that one much either, to be honest. But that had a similar thing, which was kind of like there was like newspaper articles, and this sort of had that kind of element with like, as if it was like a library book, because you said like, oh, when's this set?
Yeah.
Because who reads library books these days?
Is there even a library open? Like, I don't know.
But
unless you're in school.
Because obviously it worked like in chapters, and it had like a chapter 1, chapter 2, and it had like a little sentence if like describing it, whatever. And you said to me, can you read what that says? Because I haven't got time to read what.
No, because it went.
I was kind of glancing over, I think, like the first sentence, and then it's going to cut to like setting the scene of, and it does in the next shot, like, oh, going to outside building number whatever it says, and then so it is there. So that element is quite good, as if like this is obviously a sequential story that somebody's reading about, like the history of the family. There's a lot of thought
gone into it. I won't give it, like, take that away from it. There isn't. You do have a lot of boom, boom, boom information on your characters from the get-go, like when they're young and then to growing up, and what their accomplishments are and where they're at the moment. So you do get like this lengthy dialogue behind the characters.
Yeah. The setup at the beginning.
Yeah.
But you found, as the film went on, it dragged, or?
It was long. It was. And it's weird because I think it's shorter than Grand Budapest. I think I do actually. I think that's like 2 hours or something. This is like an hour. Was this an hour and 40 or was it?
This was like an hour and 50 something or other.
Yeah. So it wasn't that long, but it just felt, I don't know if we'd had a long day from a birthday.
Maybe.
Weekend. I don't know. It just felt hard, and my attention span wasn't.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Fully there for it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I wouldn't watch it again, but it didn't give me that feeling of, I had a higher expectation, I guess, when I came into this.
As in a sense, I suppose I did as well, but I wouldn't go as far to say like, oh, that was terrible.
No.
I think there's obviously, I can see the reasoning why a lot of people like this, because of the whole like dynamic of the family and everything like that, and you kind of learn enough about that. Yeah, I guess there's that about it as well, really. And it's not like a fantastical world or anything where, oh, that wouldn't happen kind of thing. And it's kind of like they might see themselves or some elements of their family in that, maybe. Yeah,
I think for me that's maybe my issue, because I like a film to watch to escape.
Yeah, not to be reminded of how dads can be dicks sometimes. Yeah,
and I think that's the difference. And I think this is where a film like this is not as much for me. Like Grand Budapest seems romantical, it's charming, it's beautifully done, it's inquisitive, it's intelligent, and it's just it's spectacular. And this is a bit like, okay, this is real life. This is I know that sounds daft. I do real life every day. I don't need to watch it as well. That's why I don't watch any of these soaps that are on telly.
But then you could say something like, let's say Licorice Pizza or Perks of Burning Wallflower, where that is like a drama and is set in real life.
Yeah, but it's still different. I think it's just not.
It's not the same style. You mean?
Yeah, it's not It's not family orientated. It's more to do with a man meets a girl, kind of sweet.
Right. Okay.
Where this is like family based and family traumas.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But not that it's rubbish. It's not. It's just. I think it's just. It makes you think. Well, actually, if you were just there in the first place, none of this film would needed. I don't know. If you have children, I feel like you should be all in. You should want to be there. I know it's not that easy. You could get, somebody knocked up and that's it. You can't help yourselves, You don't want that responsibility, then it's a different thing, I guess.
No, I'm just curious, really, of like how the voting swayed the way towards this film as opposed to Life Aquatic. Whether it was they sort of knew when they voted, like, or what the film was about, and whether you're thinking, oh, they probably more resonate with this film or not.
Maybe. I know Mum did look it up. And she was like, I'm not sure about both of them, to be fair, but this one seemed the better one out of the two from what she'd read.
Right.
I think then he ends up being more redemptious. Does the daddy gets a divorce? He buys another puppy for the two boys because got run over and died at the wedding. All of that kind of.
So it patches up the thing with Chaz there. So yeah.
And I think he's welcome back. He didn't know Margot's middle name, but then obviously she's adopted, so why does he need to know?
Because it sort of ends in a way like with Margot, especially like the fact she managed to do the rest of the play or whatever, goes for 2 weeks and then kind of that's it for her. So it's kind of like a bit like it's not like and then everything was okay after the fact. It's kind of a bit like somehow something like how Bob's Burgers sometimes ends with not like a particularly like not happy clappy way of ending. Like everything's like everything's okay. It's kind of like I think we did this and it's like no, that's actually no, we're not interested in that. It's okay, well never mind then. Kind of just move on. It's like that's normality of everyday life and things. So so your success isn't like always guaranteed from you had this experience and then everything was perfect from there on out.
Like,
so
all lived happily ever after.
Yeah. So that aspect works and is believable in that sense. But again, it's sort of that jokey tone just to take on it, like, can happen.
True.
So anything else to bring up?
I don't think so. I know it sounds daft because it feels like it's such a long film that you should have a lot more to say, but I feel like we've touched base on all the characters and everything that's happened.
More or less, yeah. I think it's quite. I feel like it's kind of simplistic in what it is telling the story.
Yeah,
but
the dialogue is fast though.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it's quite boom, 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 fast paced.
Yeah.
Like these are his characters. This is this situation. This is what's happening.
They're dealing with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a relaxing film. I know it sounds daft, when certain films give you a certain kind of feel.
Yeah.
This one's not like let's pop this one and it's a good feeling one. It really isn't.
It's sort of, in a way, not quite melancholy, but
it's a bit gritty.
It is and it isn't, I suppose. If that makes sort of sense. And it's just, it's the style of...
I think this one's a grow on you. I don't think it's a straight away... So, like, for example, my comparisons to this would be Skeleton Twins. Like, when the first time I watched that, I didn't really appreciate it.
But then...
The second watch, really loved it. Yeah. So I feel like this might be something like that for me, personally.
Yeah. So, let's go to score then, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you've got anything else.
No, not really. But other than I'll just say that it was enjoyable. But like I say, I wasn't like, this goes up to the top ranking of his films. For me, I definitely think I sort of enjoyed it more than that other one we watched was the I never pronounce it right. The Darjeeling Limited, the one that was on like India on the train.
On the train,
that was another family one.
Can't remember what happened.
I didn't quite gel with that one. I think there was another one of his that's quite popular, but
we just didn't see what the popularity was.
So it was sort of the same with this, but it's a bit higher than what I scored that on Letterboxd. So I'm going to put this at an 8 for now.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, it's probably a grower, really, but it didn't quite grabbed me from. I mean, I was interested in the story with the characters and how they all played out and the different stories and everything. I think it was kind of spaced out with, everybody got the time to shine on screen.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, you had more time than he has or she has or anything like that. And as I can just see like the makings of how he later developed his films, so it's like kind of like a starting point. Like, see how that works with the dialogue and stuff. But it's your score.
So I agree with you. I think it's one of those slow burners. I think its second time watch will be a lot more appreciated than the first. I think you've got quite strong characters, but yet not much of a strong connection to them. And I think that's the only thing I'm missing. But maybe if I watch it again, I might feel that.
Maybe different frame of mind. I'm sorry to hear that you're kind of like, not quite wholly invested in after a long day.
I was very sleepy, and I think I was getting agitated again. It reminded me of when we were watching The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Yeah. And it wasn't the film. I think it was more just I was just tired.
Right.
And when you've got like a lot of dialogue and a lot of characters to remember and everything, it can be a lot. So I think this is something I definitely want to revisit.
Mm-hmm.
Not like next week, like maybe in a year. Right. Then would go back to it and see if I enjoyed it as much.
But for now, what would you score it on first watch?
I would say it's 7.5. I don't think it's low.
Right.
I wouldn't. It's no Grand Budapest. And sadly, I'd gone in with thinking Wes Anderson, Grand Budapest, and then was like, Right. If I'm honest. Yeah. But
that's fine.
It's not the worst film I've watched. It's not the best film I've watched. It's just somewhere in the middle.
That's fine. Yeah. As I say, I'm sort of the same similar wavelength, obviously from what you've scored. It's only like a 0.5 difference.
Yeah.
So yeah. The only because I haven't seen like the latest one, is Asteroid City, but I don't know whether that's been mixed as well. So I don't know like if it's similar like the French Dispatch kind of tone. So I'm a bit scared to when that. I don't think that's on streaming yet, but I feel like it should be fairly soon because it's been.
Lots of things are coming out quickly on streaming nowadays, aren't they? Sound really old. Don't take that long to get.
Depends on the success of the film. If they want to keep it in something like Top Gun Maverick was like, this is making money, big money at the box office. Let's keep it in the cinema.
Yeah, but like now it's out on DVD, isn't it?
And discs and stuff.
Sorry, not DVD, isn't it? Yeah, sorry for that.
So thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you'd like to listen to some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. Also be sure to leave us a 5-star review on any of those platforms that do the scoring system.
So if you haven't already and you want to follow us on social media, then you can. You still, can click those buttons. So we are on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And you can find us under the handle SP_filmviewers. So hit those likes, follows, and all that jazz.
Now it's time for the Patreon section.
Yep.
So thank you, patrons, for voting once again. Hope that we've kind of given it some sort of, with our thoughts on this film. I don't know if it was
enough
the response,
or not.
Yeah, to go on, but we appreciate all the same. And we'll read out the names of those people that we've got on the Patreon family. So we'll start with Jonesy and Emma, and respectively we've got Jonesy under the handle @WeightLossJonesy and Emma under the handle M_Hayton on Instagram.
Yep. So we then have Shani and Alex. So Desperately Seeking username is Alex, and if you want in Shani, it is ESDOG. I don't know if I've done that right.
Close enough. On Instagram as well.
Yeah, so you can go and follow those and hit the like button and all of that.
Also got a friend, Gren, who goes by CGren_draw on Instagram.
We then have my mum, who's nowhere to be found.
Socials.
Yeah. Sounds like I've just buried her in the back garden when I say that, doesn't it?
Yeah, you say that every time. To be found. We got Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast.
We've got Ben from Film Vloggers.
And lastly, but not least, we have Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film podcast.
I wonder if they've covered this, what 100 things I'd learnt. Interesting to know. Maybe they could teach us a few things. So thank you all to our Patreons and for all their support and voting this time around. And if you do want to be a Patreon, I'm sure Paul can tell you all that details.
Yeah, so to get your name shouted out and the chance to vote for a film we watch once a month, you simply go to patreon.com/SP Film Viewers, and only costs £1 British or $1.50 a month for that privilege.
Yep, and all them perks you get just for £1.
Yeah, for the month. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad,
and
is
helps
it?
us out, of course.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that people listen to us and enjoy what we're doing.
And next time around...
Shut up.
It's going to be spooky season.
Me and Paul... Stop talking over me.
Stop talking over me.
Me and Paul are getting a divorce because this is not happening.
We can't make it a year.
No. You're going to kill me off. We're not even going to... Oh, you're going to be widowed because I'll be so scared. I'll be a shell of a woman.
Well, I'm going to sort of ease you in gently and then we're going to ramp it up by the end.
Don't, because I'll get nightmares.
Well, yeah, I'm here with you, so don't...
Yeah, but you'll be coming to bed every single night. Like, Paul, I'm scared.
I think I've got it picked down as to what I want to cover this month. But...
Blimey, you're organised.
Well, somewhat, yeah.
Well, I hope everyone's looking forward to spooky season. I love Halloween and I love pumpkins and fall and pumpkin lattes and autumnal weather. I like that Taylor Swift thing and hats and scarves, but not scary films.
So thank you very much once again for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.